That was absolutely bloody knackering. Hard day's work. Put the feet up. Get in the old wife beater. Take the tire off and time to relax.
Hello, Nils. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
Yes, good, thank you. Before we began, we were just talking about how much fun you're having on Grok, creating some deeply disturbing and not very festive images, even though I've got you on for the special Christmas edition, which is an amazing, hallowed appointment. What would you say your reason for that?
What was happening was I was trying to generate images that weren't in the festive spirit of Father Christmas in various states of despair or buried in office work. The only images that was generated was just of an elderly white dude with a beard in a Santa costume, sat at a desk, and it seemed to be, it didn't matter what I put in, that was what came out.
These aren't too bad, although I noticed Immanuel Kant is not eating Santa as I asked. He looks quite severe though, which is quite good. Santa looks a bit worried. I suppose it's as close as we get. Ho, 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 you're not trying to eat me, are you, Kant? Yes. Do you think Santa is in a Santa costume, or do you think... Sorry, it's already begun. Is there something else? Is it his skin? Like I've always been a bit freaked out when you see an image of Santa in like a wife beater by the fire after a hard day's work. I don't know, man. I don't know if you're allowed to take that stuff off. Work a day anyway.
Like, thanks Santa so much for these gifts, but fuck me if you absolutely stink. Can you not wash that thing? I can't actually. It's my skin.
His beard's made of titanium, so he can't shit.
When he gets an ingrown hair. I mean, that is life and death.
Is it a costume? Is it my skin? You know, it's actually neither. It's official issue military attire from the 21st Division of the Arctic Grenadiers. I watched several children be shredded by one of Emperor Penguin's marine units in a paper and ribbon factory during the Third Great Ice War. And since then, I've been driven by my trauma to deliver carefully wrapped goods to the homes of complete strangers on the anniversary of that fateful day, the 24th of December. The strategy is irrational as it is psychologically fruitless, no different than my vain attempt to fill the yawning void inside me with millions upon millions of cookies and glasses of milk. Other mall Santas that you may have seen around, they're not just kindly fathers and grandfathers in costumes. No, they are also veterans of this same conflict. You know, people sometimes wonder why Santa's suit went from green to red, and they say, oh, it was advertising shtick by Coca-Cola and all that bluff and nonsense. Well, no, I'm afraid it was actually for camouflage. There was so much blood in the conflict that to wear red made more sense than to wear green.
Why is it that in movies with Santa, he delivers a present, right? And then he's done, and then he gets in his sleigh and he fucks off sort of 20 miles east. You
Yeah.
think, what about next door?
Yeah.
What is this route that you've got planned?
The logistics of his operation are just no one has actually sat down and worked out the most efficient route. Maybe he's just trying to keep it interesting. He's been doing this for hundreds of years. I've just been in the south of England. It's time to head to Greece.
If he can travel the speed of light, it's okay. But if he's in, there must be something of they request sort of like these ridiculous things so that you can see what the actual rate would be required. I don't know if anyone's done it, but I feel like even with Santa's admittedly impressive skill set of being a fat man who delivers presents. All right, we have one. Here we go. Volume of delivery. That's it's already starting with okay, just the Christian children.
Well,
Um,
stands to reason.
yeah. So he has to deliver 1.44 billion presents. It's a lot of presents.
That's if there's two presents for each child.
Yeah.
Seems low, but okay.
Yeah.
Conservative estimate.
Carrying capacity. I mean, what's the outcome? Because they've done the work.
What is it saying? He has to transport 163.3 metric tons. Is that what I said?
Yes, that's right. So 3.4 seconds is his new record, it looks like, per gift.
No, he can't have that much time per gift.
Without going through all of the data here, because it was an overwhelming and potentially boring start to the podcast to do so, that is what this chart would seem to suggest.
3.4 business seconds. What do you think a business second is?
What the fuck is a business second? And if I'm not using those, which ones am I using?
Because wait, 3.4 seconds a package
Yeah,
that's 6.8 for a child.
right,
Rounding, that's 10 children a minute.
right, fair enough.
That's 600 children an hour. There's no way he's doing.
That
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
scale
not
to
even
the
close.
billions.
Yeah, yeah. So unless a business second is like a nanosecond, these people have just plucked these figures out of their ass. Which is incidentally how Santa also tracks his presents.
That's where he makes them from. That's where the elves are.
Yeah.
Imagine you get a new job, 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, and you sort of think, great, you sign the contract, and they're like, in the fine print, we did specify these were business seconds you'd be working. So in effect, you'll be home 2 days a year.
Joke's on you. A business second is a nanosecond, so I've got to work about 3 minutes. Yeah.
Still be as productive.
I can categorically state that no elf has ever been up my arse for the purposes of manufacturing or delivering presents. That reminds me, must get heavy lube. As for how I manage the logistics of delivering to some 1.5 billion children globally, I get asked about this all the time, and the answer is really quite simple. Lots and lots of amphetamines.
How are things with you? You said you had a busy January coming up.
Busy
What's
January. I'm going to be in a new play. It's called The Passenger. It's at the Finborough, which is a very well-respected theatre in London, sort of known for being a transfer house. So it often takes things to the West End if they're good.
So no chance of that then.
So no chance of that at all. But nevertheless, I will be starring in this thing. It's a very interesting story. I play a Jew girl. How original.
Being typecast to an ethnic group, that's pretty broad.
It's broad enough, apparently, to get one piece of work every decade. No. It's based on a true story about this guy, Ulrich Alexander Boschwitz, who escaped Nazi Germany fairly early on and was living in exile and writing. And then Kristallnacht happened. So he wrote this kind of story about this guy who gets on trains and trying to escape. And it becomes sort of more and more impossible for him to. But here's a really interesting part. It was translated at the time to very little fanfare and lost. He died in 1942 in not war circumstances. Well, it was sunk by a boat, but it was kind of like he didn't get to see any of the sort of the horrors of World War II. But the book was kind of forgotten and lost. And then 70 years later, they found like an original German. They'd lost the original German. They just had these bad translations. They found an original German in an archive, and working with his existing family, they retranslated it. And it became sort of an international sensation,
Right?
Bestseller in multiple countries. And I'm in the process of reading it. It's a really good book, really well written.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be put on as a play for the first time.
Nice.
So quite exciting.
Yeah. Are you playing the protagonist? Are you playing?
Yes, Otto Silbermann. What do you think?
I'm going to hazard a guess. He might be Jewish.
But here's the thing, he doesn't look Jewish. So yeah, so he's able to sort of get by a bit more because
He can pass. Is that important to the plot?
That's important to the plot. Yeah. So it's quite fun. And it's a really interesting book. It's quite straightforwardly written, which I really enjoy.
Right.
Is it that Orwell's got the sort of rules of prose where it's like never use an adjective if you don't need one, that kind
No
of
adverbs.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it has a similar style to that. So it's quite
Right.
brisk and entertaining to read, but dealing with
Right.
like quite big themes, but in a very sort of straightforward way. So it's meaty but enjoyable. Yeah.
Right. So how do you prepare for a role like that? Is it just you read the book
That's
and
definitely a part of it. Obviously, the rehearsals with the script and all of the team and all of that would be crucial. But it's a weird thing of a lot of the character in the book more than the real life person. A lot of the stuff that happened to him happened to like my grandfather.
right?
There's like lots of parallels in terms of like what his life was like. He's got a son studying in Paris, which is what happened to my grandfather. Got sent away by his father to study in Paris and almost didn't make it, kind of thing. And there's sort of lots of really interesting parallels that I'm going to be able to sort of dig into. And as you know, I think I've shared you some bits from my mum. My mum's writing sort of a book that deals with some family history stuff. So
Yeah,
I've
you did, yeah.
learned quite a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And I'm going to be able to incorporate that, I think, which will give it an extra sort of element for me, which hopefully will translate. And people won't be like, what the fuck is he doing?
Rob, we actually made it explicit in the script that you're not to whip your dick out in the first scene.
Grandpappy always would. Yes, again, he's not your grandfather. I see that, Quinn.
Amazing. And how did that come about? I mean, did you just audition, or was it word of
Yeah,
mouth?
yeah, exactly. Agent audition pipeline. I'd recently just got really close to another role and then didn't get it. This was just before I went off to Thailand, right? And I've been sort of riding a wave, like good things had been happening. I was going to ask you actually, but we don't have to do it now, but about like things that happened to you this year. Like one of my favorite things was Caitlin got her British passport, right? Amazing. Long journey that's been, and we had a big party to celebrate, which you didn't come to. Oh yeah, Sweden.
Yeah, nice excuse.
So everything had been going really well, and then I got rejection sort of like 2 days before going to Thailand. I was like, fuck everything, man. Forget stuff, one bad thing. But then this came along straight after, and so I'm
Amazing.
trying to keep riding that wave,
Had both of those things come in, would you have had to have turned one down?
Yeah. It would have been the other one as well. I would have picked this one. So
He is contractually obliged to say that.
Well, the other one just didn't specify that you were Jewish, and you were like, "What am I in this for?"
And what am I? Play another?
Nothing to bring.
Don't think so.
It's as deep as it goes.
Right, let's see what's on the telly then. Is that bloody remote gone? There we are. Oh, I know this. This is that Amazon show. Yeah, this is about Prince Andrew and how he's did that car crash BBC interview to explain himself and why he was. Oh, there he goes. Yes, he was trying to explain the fact that he was going around sexually assaulting children, as I recall. Absolute disaster. Some people might say that Prince Andrew's on my naughty list. I'd say he's just a total fucking cunt.
Speaking of your acting chops, I managed to watch A Very Royal Scandal.
Oh, you did?
I actually watched it last night and finished it this morning.
You're having difficulties accessing it in the Swedish verse.
Yeah, but only because of my own idiocy. So it turns out that Amazon, who produced it, I believe, they've licensed it, obviously, to other
providers,
broadcasters, other content providers, yeah. So in Sweden, it's just on the SVT channel, which is like the BBC. So all I had to do is pull up the equivalent of the BBC iPlayer to find it, but I just didn't think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a really bizarre experience when you suddenly cropped up on my television screen. And I anticipated that this would be the case, and then it was absolutely the case. It made it very difficult for me to assess whether you were doing a good job or not. It was so hard to suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have the same thing when you're watching it back yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like, oh, that's me. It's like, hello, Jason. It's like, my name's Robert. What are you?
That's not how this works, Rob. Sorry, you are Jason now. You look at your passport, Jason. What?
But the rest of it's good though, isn't it? It's a good show.
I thought it was a really solid TV show, yeah. Quite thought-provoking in lots of ways because it's sort of got a tragic narrative arc, but Aristotle's got this line where he says tragedy is supposed to elicit pity and fear, and you do that by casting the right kind of protagonist, namely someone who's sort of like us. They can't be an utter villain because then they're down for you're like, woohoo!
Yeah.
And they can't be a saint because then you're just indignant about the downfall. So they have to be someone who has enough of a tragic flaw that they can, yeah. And then you have that with Prince Andrew.
Mm.
I mean, you might say, well, he's just a villain, but he's sort of blinded by his own arrogance,
Yeah.
his own privilege, of course. You know, it seems that the show really makes a point of the fact that A, he treats his staff like absolute dog shit, but you never hear him thank anyone, you know, when they serve him a plate or except in the context of the testimony of the victim, of course, who, and this comes up a couple of times I noted, she remarks how after Prince Andrew allegedly had sex with this girl, as he walked out of the room, he's like, thanks, you know, which I thought was such a weird irony because to all in all the other contexts, you never hear him thank anyone. But then by the end, it's not clear it's not really a downfall in a way. It's sort of it's a moral downfall.
The moral downfall.
And there's the shot of him as he's standing at the window, and the window, you can't help but see them as sort of like prison bars. But at the same time, it's the framing of a window in a large mansion that he's still allowed to stay in, right? So I thought the show played really nicely with that.
Gilded cage, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And the only thing I'd say about your line is your line might have been the only time when the exposition was a bit heavy-handed. Because the opening thing you say is like,
I'm your press secretary.
I'm your press secretary, yeah. It was like, okay, we get it. He's the press secretary.
I'm your press secretary that you hired on May 25th at a conference that included business seconds, sir, and I'm here to discuss. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I watched this show that's on Netflix. Well, I started to, but I couldn't really get through it. It's I think it's called Black Little Doves or Little Black Doves. Keira Knightley and Ben Whishaw being sort of spies.
Yeah.
And it's so by the numbers. I thought, well, I can just enjoy this as a genre piece. But the exposition was like, you were recruited because when you were 15, you killed your mother, but you framed it on your secret, and then you left for 10 years and you've been slipping under the radar. But now you're back and your name isn't really Jane, but I'm here to tell. And it would just go on like that. And you're like, okay, I don't care. None of this is going to matter.
Well, that's the worst thing as well. If you're getting character background, it's not even relevant. Like, no one talks like this, dude.
Exactly.
If it's part of the common ground, why are you saying it?
Exactly. Yeah, the amount of expedition we do in real life, it's basically like, wait, you went there, didn't you? Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you might check in, exactly. Yeah. You're not like, hi, you're a human being. I'm a human being. We are shaking hands now. You know? Just in case you missed it, audience. The handshake suggests trust. Yeah. Yeah, but I thought it was really good. And despite what I said, I thought you were great in it as well. Small though the part was. I thought that the bit where you sort of lose your temper with him was particularly, that was the bit actually where I didn't see you as Rob. I was like, seemed to really embody the.
Yeah, well, you know, I had to yell at him, right? And he had to yell at me. So after we'd done it a few times, I was like, yeah, I can yell at Michael Sheen. Look at the way he's yelling. I can yell.
Yeah. So was that, did you do a few takes for that? Or?
Yeah. That took a few hours, all of that. Well, actually longer, but the main stuff took a few hours doing it in various different ways. And they cut a line that I thought was really good. When he fires me, and he's like, go. And I'm like, oh, shell-shocked.
Yeah.
But before that, he used to have a line where he'd yell at me, you do not exist. It was really like crushing, like blow at someone, especially when there's no way they can win the argument, right? Andrew is in that position where he will win the argument.
By virtue of his status.
Yeah. There was something that the writer said on the first day, which was he's never missed a train because if he's late for the train
they wait for him. Yeah.
And it's just, if you have that much privilege just all your life, it is weird because that is kind of his hamartia, right? Apart from his personality, which is a flaw, obviously. It's like if you're given everything, it's not good for you, kind of thing. You never have to work for anything, and it kind of spoils you a bit. And I don't know if there's any way to get that back once you've had that the whole time.
Yeah.
Let's have a look then. See. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Normative ethical theories. Here we go. Okay, deontological theories. Kant. More Kant. Consequentialist theories. Utilitarianism. Rule. Act. More Kant. Aristotle. Virtue ethics. Golden mean. Blah, blah, blah. Can you believe the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy still doesn't have the give away a billion presents a year on one day of the year theory of normative ethics?
Oh, what's that, my dear?
I said the gift-giving normative ethical theory. They still don't have it on the SEP. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's nice, dear.
No, I'm just saying that... Oh, never mind.
Well, anyway, look, enough about me. Tell me about you. Listen, how's Christmas in Sweden? How's the job? How's the book? Catch me up. Catch the audience up.
The book is constantly being sidelined by other stuff that's more urgent, but 2025 is the year in which I shall produce the first full draft of the book.
Right.
So one of the things that's gotten in the way is I'm co-writing an article for the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which, for those who don't know about it, is this incredible resource, principally aimed at academics and maybe students, that gives overview summaries of whole areas of
Pretty
philosophy.
much the Bible when you're doing philosophy. I would use it all the time for my
Yeah,
it's quite
exactly. Yeah. And if, as a sort of professional philosopher, if you just want to quickly get oriented, with respect to, I don't know, John Locke or something, right? The SEP, that's often where you would go just to get up to speed. Anyway, so the reason I'm writing this thing, so I'm writing the entry on art and ethics. And the reason I'm doing this is because there is a Professor Anne Eaton who I know pretty well. We were at the American Society for Aesthetics conference in 2019 in Phoenix, and there we were living it up in the pool because it's like October, but it's Phoenix, so it's very, very pleasant weather.
It's Phoenix, yeah.
And she was griping to me about this article that she just couldn't get written, and she'd already been on it like 4 years at this point. And so I said, I'm pretty good at getting stuff wrapped up. Do you want to co-write it? And she's like, yes. Anyway, now fast forward 5 years, we still haven't finished the fucking thing. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, those aren't business seconds, mate.
So this thing is like 9 years in the making, or 9,000 business years in the making. Yeah, so that's been occupying my time lately, but we are very close. We're in the final straight, although we're getting a bit leggy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like a marathon.
Yeah.
Have there been any points where you'd be like, I was rereading the beginning and I actually think it was like, shut up,
Yeah.
stop right there. We're not doing that paragraph
Yeah.
again.
Internally, yes. And the thing has gotten the ambitions for the article have gotten more and more modest as time has gone on, because it's just get the fucking thing done. If I have to email the editors one more fucking time, cap in hand, going, we need another 6 months. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I've got one for you, so buckle up. What did Adam say on the day before Christmas? It's Christmas Eve. I met Adam. Bit of a tosspot, actually.
How's Sweden?
Sweden's good, as it was last time we spoke. Jag pratar lite med svenska nu.
Okay, you do. I think that meant I speak pretty good Swedish now.
I speak a little more Swedish now.
A little more. Okay, I was close. Yeah.
Close, yeah.
Are you at or above conversational?
At conversational, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of elementary fluency, but with some weird vocab gaps. Yeah.
Right. So you could definitely go into a bakery and be like, I'd like a loaf of that particular bread.
Oh, yeah.
But if they went, what about this thing? You might go, can you just give me the bread?
No. I'm beyond that. I'm beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be like if I said, "Oh, can I have a loaf of bread?" and they said, "Tell me your thoughts about the Wankel rotary engine." That might, I might have to say, "Could you say that more slowly?"
And in English.
He's like, "But I said it in English." Yeah, could you say it more slowly, please? Yeah. The other thing that's happened on that front is that my Spanish has been colonized
Really?
by the Swedish. Yeah, yeah. It's a thing. It's the same bit of the brain, I'm sure, that is encoding the.
So as one rises, the other falls away.
It's not quite that it falls away. It's just that when I was first learning Swedish, I'd be trying to say something in Swedish, and my brain would keep going, "What about this Spanish word? What about this Spanish word?" I mean, shut up.
Yeah, right.
Especially sort of filler words. Right? So you might say but, right? And in Spanish you'd say pero, or I'd be speaking Swedish where you say men, but then I'd be like pero, and then the people would look at me like, what? Or like, and then you have these sort of weird, I guess they'd be like false friends, like E in Spanish is and E in Swedish is in.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So then I'd be saying weird things like, I don't know, I'm going and the shop, and then people are like, you know, these sort of unimportant errors, but at some level they do throw people off the scent.
Yeah.
But now it's flipped. So now we had a researcher here recently
Right.
visiting from Madrid. So we were speaking Spanish, and my brain was like, what about this Swedish word? Or what about this Swedish word? It's like trying to speak, but also trying to sort of mollify a child or something.
Right. Yeah.
You sort of have to multitask, but in your own head. It's very odd.
So you've got a sort of homunculus in your head that is either Swedish or Spanish, trying to interject whenever you're speaking the other. Like,
It's more like,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
help.
Yeah. It's more like two homunculi. Yeah. And one has gained the ascendancy over the other. Yeah. Elbows the other one. What about? Yeah.
That's pretty good. Well, I'm kind of curious, just thinking because of the time of year. I feel like all of Scandinavia is quite Christmassy already.
Hmm.
I think last time we talked about like New Year's traditions quite a lot. We
That's
haven't
right,
really
yeah.
talked about Christmas. Do they have any idiosyncratic beliefs or traditions that you find sort of quaint or interesting?
On the 13th of December, they have Lucia, which is part of this period.
Mm.
They are celebrating, which, how would you translate it? Saint Lucy, I guess. It's like a tradition that has German and Mediterranean roots. For all intents and purposes, what it manifests as is they go on this little parade where a girl will wear a crown of lit candles on her head.
Oh, no.
And then they walk around singing Santa Lucia. It's like a song that they sing. And then there's other choral stuff that they sing. That one's pretty weird. In our department, actually, we have a little Lucia Torg, as it's called, like a Lucia train parade, whatever you want to call it, come through. And the whole department is assembled for this thing to come into the department. And this year it was like a girls' choir. Last year it was a men's choir, but there was a woman who was Lucia, and the entire time they sang, and they must have sung 3 or 4 songs, she just stood there with her hands together with these candles burning on her head, which was very strange.
Standing presumably fairly stock still so as not to have any
Yeah,
whack.
exactly. You could tell when she moved because she was, ow, ow, ow. Yeah, yeah, exactly. There is a wet cloth or something on their head to stop the. It's Sweden,
Right.
so it's all very sensible, despite the pagan weirdness.
Yeah, it does. It reminds me a bit of like a midsummer type vibe, which is obviously a completely different time of year. But
Yeah, it has a similar feel to it. Yeah, yeah. It just seems very Nordic, yeah. But
yeah,
besides that, not really. I mean, like the Germans, they do Christmas Eve rather than Christmas Day as the main
yeah.
President's Day, which I've never understood because kids are opening the gift and it's like, right, off the bed. What about the PlayStation? You can have a restless night thinking about your PlayStation.
Oh, not the bloody ads. Yes.
The Casio G-Shock has a super powerful shock.
The fucking...
That's why it withstands so much.
Here we go. The fucking G-Shock. The watch that sounds like a fucking vibrator. Let's market a watch to kids. What are we going to call it? Let's call it a G-Shock. Might as well call it the Fanny Rumbler. Bloody marketers. That's it. They're all going on the naughty list.
Did you ever open a Christmas present early when you were a kid? Did you sneak one?
Oh, I don't think so. I must have done. You look like you did and still regret it to this day.
That's completely correct. That's exactly how I feel and what happened. Yeah, it was.
Go on
I think
then.
I was about 10, and do you remember the G-Shock watches?
Yeah.
They were super trendy for a minute when we were younger, and I knew my godfather had got me one. I could see the box, and it was staring at me, and I thought, you know what?
I mean, you could see the box, but it was
It
wrapped.
was wrapped, but I knew it was from him, and I knew the box that the G-Shock came in, and it was like exactly the same dimensions. You could almost see
You
that
knew the
bouncy
dimensions.
plastic. Yeah, yeah, I was obsessed. And I thought, my whole life I've been told you shouldn't open them until Christmas Day, but what if I can do? And so,
It
like,
was under the tree.
under the tree,
Right,
people
right,
had
right.
gone to bed. I snuck down,
Oh
I
my
tore it open. I was like, ha. And it lasted for one business second,
God.
the feeling of joy, before it was just like I was flooded with guilt and shame and regret.
Really?
Yeah, just immediately. I was like, I didn't even open it. I was just like, ugh. And once it's open as well, you can't sort of like cover up the
No.
lie. So I think what I did is I like hid it underneath some presents, and then when it came time to open it the next day, I'd be like, "Oh look!" Pretend it's exactly what I wanted, so no one could see me sort of not unwrapping it.
The whole family's just there, cross-armed, like, we saw what you did, Rob.
Still feel bad.
Yeah. But is this not only a mini memoir of the day, but the confessional as well?
Yeah.
Your family, they were none the wiser.
No,
It
no,
worked.
they didn't know.
Ah, now they do.
Yeah. I didn't enjoy the G-Shock. It felt like it wasn't properly earned, you know?
It's ludicrous anyway. Was it like 8th of January, you're there flinging it into the ocean? Ah!
You're the cause for all my problems.
Curse you, G-Shock!
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. You turn around to walk back, it's on your wrist again. You're like,
Stigmata. I did reveal to my eldest, Katerina, this year that it's all a big lie.
what?
Yeah.
Daddy, can we go see Father Christmas? No, it's all a big lie. You're old enough now.
What, you mean the whole thing about Christmas? No, your mother and my marriage.
Go on.
The backstory to this is that when you are a five-person family, to go on holiday is pretty expensive.
God, yeah. And a production.
And a production, exactly. But Phone and I guess the kids, Phone's my wife, haven't been on a holiday since like 2019. Not like a proper go away and it's warm, that sort of thing.
Mm,
So we decided like we're going to go to the Canary Islands in
right.
February.
Solid.
But the only way we could do it, because we're just on my income, is if we save a bit of money. So the
Yeah.
deal we struck with the kids is, look, we can go on holiday if, for instance, on your birthdays, you're limited to 4 gifts from us,
Right.
right? And they have to be not they have to be fairly practical gifts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They will be your school uniform, your lunch for the day,
We don't even have school uniforms in Sweden. Here's your school uniform. It's just a Mao suit.
and a G-Shock.
You can't take it off.
That's eminently sensible.
Yeah. Now, this also, in the spirit of miserliness, had to carry over to Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Now, my 2 younger kids, Casper and Axel, they're 6 and 8, they sort of hadn't connected the dots, but Katerina had. And so she started asking some unwelcome questions, such as, if Santa Claus is bringing us the gifts, then how do we save money
Yeah.
by restricting the number of them? Perfectly sensible question,
Yeah.
which I proceeded to just ignore in the hope
Right.
that the curiosity would fizzle out. But she just kept bringing it up over and over. And I could see that the other members of the oppressed class in our household, the children, were starting to ask some uncomfortable
They're
questions.
cottoning on. They're
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
this is a good point. We might form a union here.
Exactly. You're not forming a union.
But what if instead of the gift, you get a little payslip from him in return for not getting a gift? There we go. I'm coming up with an alternate system.
I'm afraid we do have to take taxes out, and it is Sweden, so there'll be 98% of those. And that leaves you with a G-Shock. The other thing is I suspected that the real
Right.
motivation for the questioning was the fact that at some level she realized.
She's kind of old enough now where,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
She's just turned 11. I mean, come on.
Mhm.
So I sat her down. I was like, like the reason we're doing this is because me and your mum are getting the gifts. And she was just like appalled. Like her day was ruined. She was like, "What do you mean?" And then she's like getting upset. She's like, what about the tooth fairy?"
Oh no, straight to the tooth fairy.
Yeah.
Did you just spam them all? Yeah, the tooth
Yeah.
fairy, the Easter
That's
bunny.
like,
What else you got? None of it's real.
yeah. What about the Easter bunny? And there I was, just like annihilating these magical creatures from her ontology one by one by fiat.
Yeah,
And she was understandably, in hindsight, pretty upset.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the day before, she sort of had a list of all these magical creatures that existed, and you just one by one
Yeah.
struck them off, and she
Yeah.
just has to carry on existing, being like, so none of them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Am I still on the list?
Yeah. It's touch and go.
Eat up your G-Shock, dear. Let's not ask about that.
It keeps growing back.
I made some joke on her birthday's on the wait, what day is her birthday? On the 16th. So I was making some joke about the birthday frog bringing her gifts.
It's too soon, Father. The
Yeah.
wound's too fresh.
So you can see the eye roll from her, but then
Yeah.
from her brother, it's like, birthday frog. Like, no, just a joke. There's no birthday.
The next day, it's like, Daddy, look what I've drawn. That's the birthday frog. You're like, what have I manifested? Why do you listen to me? No.
Why does the birthday frog have such big balls? I don't know. Seem to fit.
That's an intense little, there's no clean way to do it other than the way you did it, really. I mean, the worst thing you could have done was string along the lie somehow.
I guess my hope was that the lie would sort of fizzle out,
Yeah,
lack of momentum, because it just comes a point where the critical thinking skills of a child
yeah.
are too awesome for the lie.
Exactly.
Like none of it makes sense,
No.
as we've seen with business seconds.
Yeah. Once you're bringing in business seconds, it's easier to just throw the whole thing out.
You mentioned that the business second really clarified things. It's sort of the enlightenment for children. I mean, related to this as well, so we celebrate Nikolaus. Oh, that was another one we destroyed. Although there's a sort of interesting question whether Nikolaus and Father Christmas are different.
As in literally Saint Nick, who did exist, right? He was an actual character in history, wasn't he?
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
it's no coincidence that Father Christmas is referred to as Saint Nick.
Right.
If you ask any German kid, are Nikolaus and der Weihnachtsmann, the Christmas man, are they the same person? They're like, no. They both wear red suits with the white wool thing. They both bring gifts to children, magical powers. They're old white dudes.
At the very least, they're blood related. Can we agree on that?
I think cousins.
Or someone's copying someone. I mean, there's a link. You can't just cleave them clean in two.
Yeah. Is Saint Nick going to bring the copyright suit against the Christmas man? Because
Right. It's like the WWF back in the day. The World Wildlife Fund. No, the World Wrestling Federation. What? They're the same.
Except we're not doing wrestling, we're also going to do wildlife protection. Anyway, so yeah, you ask any German kid, they're like, no, they're different people. But I think it's a philosophically more interesting question than those kids are giving it credit. But anyway, assuming they are different people in the fictional universe, I also destroyed Nicholas Fur. But the reason I was bringing St. Nicholas up is because we celebrate St. Nicholas Day on the 6th of December. But every time we've moved away from Germany, we've had to cook up an explanation for why the other kids are not getting chocolates. and then you start to say things like, and you can't believe these words are coming out of your mouth. Like, he only brings chocolates to the German kids.
Uh-oh.
And you're like, oh, that doesn't...
The slippery slope.
Yeah.
Whatever
It's like,
that
is he like Hitler, Dad? He's sort of like Hitler,
was.
but with chocolates.
Let's see if Grok can do Hitler dressed up as Santa Claus. Bet it can.
It's just going to be a Santa at a desk.
Not even the pencil moustache, surely.
You type in anything. You type in like robot sat at a beach. It's going to be Santa at a desk.
With Emmanuel Kant. See, part of your such. I don't understand why he made it in.
It's so niche. Santa looking scared as Kant whispers something into his ear.
Hitler was nothing. Total pissant compared to Emperor Penguin. I never will forget that fateful day when the Penguin Marines came marching into the Arctic compound, setting alight the makeshift village we had erected in our retreat. The whistle of the relentless shelling, the k-k-k-k-k of automatic gunfire, the stench of burning tires and human flesh. God, why did you forsake us that day? Ooh, that reminds me. Must get a new barbecue grill in the January sales.
How was Thailand?
Thailand was great. One of the highlights of the year, probably. Maybe one of the funnier things that happened as well. I got food poisoning.
The last time we chatted, you had food poisoning.
I've got a delicate condition.
Yeah.
But I think this time it was probably because I ate the squid and salted egg that was a bit fresh. And I got really, really fucking sick. But other than that, it was perfect. It was really good. Got to see the beaches. Didn't get to do as many of the things as we planned because, 3 days being like, oh, are you done? I need to go kind of thing. And then being like, should we go to the pool? It's like, I don't think the other people would appreciate us in the pool given that we're leaky. Yeah, absolutely disgusting. One of the best things was the last night there. We went on the Bangkok river cruise, right? It goes up and down the thing as sunset comes. And what we didn't realize is that it was basically for Chinese tourists.
Okay.
So what that meant was things were in English and in Chinese and in Thai, right? So it was quite a lot of talking, which was like quite complicated.
Yeah.
There was a massive buffet that as soon as it opened had just like this massive line of people, loads of Chinese food.
Yeah.
And loads of Chinese people eating Chinese food.
Yeah.
A lot of them wearing plastic gloves to do it, which I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And then lots of people smoking as well, because that's still quite a big thing in Chinese culture. And then a karaoke with this sort of big older woman being like, "Come on, dance."
So was she running the karaoke, or she was just the most enthusiastic?
No, she was running it. She was employed by the company, and they'd sort of play like ABBA or something, and then a Chinese pop hit.
Yeah.
And so the dance floor was very hard to like keep tabs on, because you sort of like, yeah, okay, this one, and then be like, this is a complete change, and then back to sort of Queen or whatever it was.
So just alienating everyone by alternating. Yeah. You have like 3 people who happen to be familiar with both cultures at the time of their lives.
Yeah, and it sort of all culminated with them playing Gangnam Style, and we got up to dance, surrounded by.
That's a sort of common denominator, I imagine.
Yeah, it was the thing that brought everyone together.
Yeah.
So
they played it again, and they played it again.
Everyone doing the.
Can we please?
Yeah, so it was really, it was brilliant. Thailand's incredible. I last went there on my gap year, and now it's like the internet and smartphones, right? It's all incredibly modern. In some ways, like more modern than New York or London. In some ways, it's very plugged in, very modern,
very transformed in the last 20 years.
Yeah, massively so. Incredibly efficient.
Right.
Very user friendly.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because I remember it. Because I think I was there similar time to you, but it was certainly, it seemed a bit sort of rickety.
Yeah.
Certainly quite an alien place to negotiate, not being from there.
Yeah, and I mean, outside of Bangkok was a little bit like that, but even less so. But in Bangkok, it was just like super convenient, super easy.
Yeah.
One interesting cultural thing that I'd noticed a shift was that like you didn't really see insects for sale anymore. Like when I was there, you could just buy insects to eat all over the place.
Yeah.
And it turns out, sort of as a country becomes more prosperous, they quite quickly fall to the bottom of the queue of what snack you want.
Yeah.
It's like, we've got these insects, yeah, but what about all of the
what about chicken?
Nature.
Other than the cockroaches?
Seriously, there are like maybe 7 Christian kids in all of Thailand. All bloody heathens, the rest of them. Great noodles, though. You can't knock them for their noodles. Right, time for a nap. See you in a bit.